same path that we are. So that could be a good fit. My only concern with him is that seems to have developed a crush on me, and I don't know about how to set clear boundaries with him yet, because I know he wants to get closer with me. So I'd like him to meet the team, at least some of you guys, as soon as possible, so he can see that he's not just working with this vulnerable woman, but with a team of really awesome male stewards that won't allow, anything incredulous. So I think he's a really good guy, though. I think he's just pretty liberal with his sexuality and spirituality together, and I'm a little less so. So anyway, that's my updates on that. I will inquire further as to how he wants to meet you guys, but possibly later this week he could pop on one of our calls. Actually, one more update is I talked with Bobcat, one of my dearest, oldest besties. He is excited to participate somehow, wants to get on a call with us so he can meet you guys. He's the one that I've told you all about that is the founder of Abraxas, the Golden Dragon at Burning Man, and knows Michael Franti and works for Dr. Bronner's. And so he's got a lot of people that would be really good for the crowdfund, as far as sponsors for the crowdfund and musicians that could support us in that song that I've shown you guys. So that's my updates so far, and I'll see if I think of any others.
What was the guy, the dog guy's name?
His name's Chris. I have his last name written down. I don't have it right here. I'll look for it.
And the Abraxas guy, what's his name?
Bobcat.
Bobcat.
Gwyn. Gwin is his last name. Gwyn.
Abraxas. And
yeah.
And the conversation with him was around like events, like activating the land with events. Is that?
So we've been really close for 13 years, and we've had very similar visions all around. So he understands Festiville innately. We've talked about this for many years. I talked to him specifically about the crowdfund, because if we could get him involved on that, have his face be a part of it. He's got thousands of people in his network. And then he has Dr. Bronner's that he's worked for years that could be a sponsor. He's dear friends with Michael Franti and a bunch of other, like String Cheese. Like I know Austin's friends with one of them too. So having some support from famous musicians, especially if we do the song Who Writes the Now and we have verses from different musicians that we can compile together on the site, I think it'll show a lot of support of our vision, and then it also just reaches their markets. And Bobcat's really good at that.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Speaking of all that, we should maybe, if we want to get more musicians and stuff like that, we can. I know a couple, and maybe we can even reach out to Gregory. What was her name? The one, Miguel's friend, Kaiza.
Kaiza, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who?
I guess one.
Woman, Kaiza. She's fairly famous. My daughter and I used to watch all her music videos together, and then we ended up meeting her because our friend Miguel became good friends with her. And she was really into the Soil DAO stuff.
Great.
Yeah, and I met another famous musician at Joe Dispenza, so I can talk to her too.
You did.
Yeah. So, anyway, once we have more material to show them,
maybe that could be a document that we could start, a spreadsheet that is just connections that we have, and we can do a section for musicians and for artists and for businesses. I could start that and populate it with what I know, like my friend David Block is Human Experience, and you and I, Gregory, are both friends with Rain Future Primitive. So it's like those people have a big network. And if we can get a really simple thing to send out to them soon that says, here's what we're doing, here's what we're asking of you, then I think we can get a lot of them to say, yeah, I'll put my face to it, or I'll send it to my network, or I'll record something for the video.
Influencers. Speaking of that, I started a Slack channel, so a Slack group, and then we can make all these channels for all these things.
So we can put on the Slack channel a link to Google Docs. It's like, for example, that what you're putting together. That has like a Rolodex of sorts.
Yeah, so we can make channels. One could be for Google Docs, one could be for Connect, whatever, like we did last time. It's an awesome tool to find things, because I'm getting a little lost. Where is that document?
Great. Okay, so just to fill you in, Austin, we talked about moving the Wednesday meeting to Thursday morning, 9:00.
Austin, we and I are going to be together. I kind of volunteered that time, but I haven't checked in with you.
Yeah, and just for this week.
Yeah, just week, yeah.
Because Wednesday, you and I are doing our thing.
Okay. And we need to touch in with Miss Wright.
I wrote her directly, so I'll let you know. And if she can't make it, we'll just record it.
And what time is the meeting on this Thursday?
9 a.m. West Coast.
Okay, and we don't have a conversation with Brian, is that right?
Oh, we do have, but we can. Well, I'll check in with him. But
so we're going to move it for sure. We're moving that to 9 a.m.
And we can switch it to 9:30 if you guys need, so that it's the same time consistently, just a different day.
How flexible.
Well, let's figure it out on Telegram. But let's say tentatively 9:00 on Thursday.
Okay, and then the Friday meeting we have, what's that? Is that at 10:30 still?
9:30 every Friday.
9:30 every Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
But you guys don't have a reason to miss that this week, right? Just on solstice.
I might go skiing on Friday, so
Priorities, mister.
I feel bad saying this, but I might. Yeah, I'll let you know.
All right. So the only thing left on the agenda is Colorado trip.
So I would like to go first or second week of January. I could go there with my buddy. We could fly in and fly back, or we could do more like we could drive. Unfortunately, his plane, he's worried because the altitude's so high up there that it's a four-seater plane. He worries if there's more than two people, who have a hard time taking off from high altitude. So I could make a quick trip by myself, or the more people we could drive. I don't mind driving. With the Tesla, we're pretty cheap. And we could spend the weekend there and come back and take photos, and maybe Austin and I go to City Hall, ask some questions there, and do the map.
And we could go to the hot springs and do some reconnaissance.
We could go to the hot springs, connect together physically as a team, and connect.
I mean, the more of you together at one time, the more giddy I'm going to be, just because it feels like we're really making it real. Like you've each been to the land, but separate, and it'd be really amazing to have any number of you at the same time.
Yeah, and also to all together connect to the land, because again, as we kind of had that meditation this morning, connecting to the land, but four of us to actually has our feet on the land and do a process to connect with that. I think that would be very essential and important.
And if we can pick a date, then I will talk with Melissa and see if I can convince her to come out. Maybe I can throw $100 at her ticket or something to see if she can come out at the same time. That would be amazing if we had both Melissa Lynns with you guys.
Yes. Okay, so are there any dates that have been thrown around, or is this just kind of early phases of consciousness?
I'm flexible. If we drive, I would say probably leave on a Thursday, come back Monday or something of that nature. Again, I could drive with the Tesla. Will be only a couple $100 in travel. I could cover that, so it'll be very affordable.
What's the date though? Possible.
Let me look at a calendar. I mean, we could do all this. I'm looking at December. I mean, we could do it the first week of January. We could leave on the 5th and come back on the 9th. Something like that.
Okay. Oops.
I probably won't be able to do that. I mean, I get my daughter out of school, and then even when school starts, I'm committed to I'm not even sure what that's going to be like, but there's at least one class I'm teaching. I might be doing 2. So that's going to be a little tricky for me, but I encourage whoever can make it to go. I think mapping it would be great.
Is there a time that works for you, or that's every week?
I'll know more once I know the schedule for the school. If I'm teaching 2 classes, that's not really my control right now. So yeah, I'll let you know once I find that out. So it could, yeah, I don't really have enough information.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, great. That's it. Anything else anybody wants to discuss? Add to the agenda? I think it's probably good for us to end meetings sometimes early, just to kind of show that we don't just have to talk for talking's sake. And I think having some more discussion is also valuable, potentially, if it's directed and intentional.
Putting stuff on the agenda for next time. So, like I said, I started a Slack channel. We can start using that and sharing documents on there. We've committed to go through Austin's document by Wednesday. Now, this case Thursday. Anything else we need to do for next time?
Did you get Melissa? I sent you some completed projects, and I'll also send you some PDFs of those other projects.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the completed projects, when I click on them, now they're loading. That's funny. Before, it said that I didn't have permission. So now I clicked on them again, and I am able to see them. So I don't know what it was that was not allowing me to have permission, but it's good now. So I'll get to look at them today.
And that was in the email, right?
Yeah, so you emailed me the completed projects, and then you said you'd send the visionary projects soon. So I will look for that. And then I sent you guys that Juniper Springs initial business plan that got me the land. So kind of just glance over that, see if anything stands out that you think we should use in our future writings. And then it has a spreadsheet in there of $1 million budget with just very basic amounts for each of the items, but it doesn't include the tiny house village development or any art on the land. Those are things that I hadn't budgeted in yet. I would like to discuss more. Maybe it's something that we need Bradley on the phone for, but I really want to understand how logistically we differentiate ourselves from a normal project that would seek the powers that be to give us codes and blah, 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 give us the building permits and things like that, because we didn't need them before in this county and it's brand new. And the person that is putting all this into effect moved here from Monterey Bay, California, and had 20 years on their council and has just taken all of what they worked on there and changed the name to Delta County. So it's not okay. And it's not, even if it doesn't, if it's not applicable to us because we're working in the private and we're finding ways to quote unquote get around it, it is affecting a lot of people who have moved here in order to have a more natural and free way of life. And simple things like they're requiring you to get a building permit immediately to even live in a temporary structure on the land while you build. And the building permit only lasts for a year. So then if your building takes longer than that, you have to reapply. And they're making sure that everything that's permanent, quote unquote, even if it's a trailer that you're living in, has to be attached to a septic system. And we know with soil and the health of soil that septic systems are not what we want to be using. I don't want to be wasting 3 gallons of water every time I go to the bathroom. So I'd really like to understand some of the laws around that and how we can lawfully be moving forward, and then how we might be able to template what we're doing to help the rest of the people in the county, so that they don't feel like they're buried by this 350 pages of codes.
Yeah, seems like there's an opportunity to maybe nip this in the bud. Sounds like you can't actually make the meeting. I wonder if you can send it out and try and mobilize as many people as possible to make the meeting, just so there's a show of force early on. Fucking Californians, man, they're like an infection across the planet.
Yeah, it's so horrible.
I love that all 3 of you are in California.
Behind enemy lines, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So yeah, having worked on some things for tiny houses and composting toilets and things of that with Permit Sonoma, do you have? So is this? When did this go into effect? Or when does it go into?
It hasn't gone into effect yet. So last year they basically they gave themselves some sort of right to pass all these things without telling anyone. Like it's written into the code that they have the ability to write anything they want, and it's not voted on. And so all sorts of things were passed last year without anyone's knowing. And then people started to see all these things and started to push back. Now there's another 40 pages of revised statutes that are going into effect in February. And so there's a lot of people that are rallying. I had a conversation with the kind of the leader of this group that wants to get 100 or 200 people to show up. He has a lot of like resentment and anger in him about it. And I was like, I can't be a part of that because that's not the avenue that I want to come from. I also don't want my name, the land, to be a focal point of what they're working on. I want to still remain under the radar as much as possible. So it is kind of a hard thing for me as an individual because I do want to stand up for the little people and I want to help to say none of this is actually applicable to us, because we did find that governmental ruling at the Senate level that says all codes and I don't remember what the other word was, are non-lawful. So it's illegal for them to actually put those codes on individuals. They're only for business. And that's not the way they're wording it. But they're also working, just like all police officers are, they're working with a very small amount of information. They don't actually know all these other things. And so if we can figure out a way to give all that information to the humans that live here and not just the jurisdiction, then we may have enough people that say, none of this is real. What you're saying isn't real. Instead of fighting it and giving it more power.
Do you have the document? Can you send that to me?
I am going to send it to you right now.
Okay. Send it to the team probably too.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm going to forward it to all of you guys right now.
Okay.
So I think this is, I think looking into getting the land grants, the land patents, is putting that as part of a budget item. There's a
Yes.
guy who he charges and he helps with that process, and that would be, I think, really up there to do. And then, yeah, actually formalizing the trust.
Yeah.
And putting the transferring the deed over to the trust would also be good to do.
Yeah, and I can't do that until I buy Jack out. So that's the steps for me is buying Jack out, figuring out the plan to buy out the rest of the land so that it can be put under trust. But I do believe that forming the bank account for the private membership association for the land, those feel really, really important as far, and also the Lloyd Deal title. So the sooner we can move forward on those things and figure out what those steps are so that other pieces of land can do that. This person that is heading Nico, who I just forwarded you guys the information from, he really wants to put his land under an earth trust also. So there's a lot of people in this area that will be doing similar steps that we are, and that could be a part of our development team, is to actually have these steps that we could be paid to put into action on other people's land, as long as we know those steps and we know the processes so that we're not learning it as we go.
And yeah, we could put all this land under the same trust, which makes it a lot more powerful as an entity to deal with those people that think they have power.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that I was trying to explain to him is like to not be patronizing with the way we communicate with them, but also just let them know that they don't actually have the power that they think they do. And that's a really hard thing to do, to say, you don't have the power you think you do. This jurisdiction is not actually yours, and not be patronizing to them, because we do want people to grow and change and learn. And they think they're doing the best. They think they're doing a great job. So some of the stuff I'd like to research is if you guys have precedents of, and I think Austin's going to be a big one for this, of people that have gone around these jurisdictions, especially in regards to composting. And then if we have some environmental impact stuff on septic systems, because the way that it works nowadays that I'm learning is that when they get pumped, the sludge from them, there's only 3 different options for where that sludge goes. And the third option is a composting facility that sells it back to people as organic compost, even though it has heavy metals, it has toxic pharmaceuticals, it has glyphosate, it has all these things in it that is not organic. That's the furthest thing that they're doing. The most of the time, they're actually just pumping it into the city's water system to get cleaned out. And that's just horrific that we're taking all of our septic sludge and doing that. So if we can figure out those things, and then if we could also figure out some way that people in other countries, because I know in Australia they passed something where they were able to do large composting systems, so human manure facilities, and it came from a group that was doing bathroom trailers at festivals. And so instead of just pumping out the blue gross water and cleaning it, they were taking trays of compost material, of manure, and then taking it to big facilities to process. And so if we can show the environmental impact and the money made from that, then maybe the county will change their mind and see that money can be made from human manure systems.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to look at Santa Cruz and obviously Austin's Sonoma, because I Santa Cruz, I think, was fighting the city for a long time to allow composting toilets, and I think they do now. So yeah.
Great.
The
I think these
challenge-
are what we need.
one of the challenges is just in terms of, again, thinking of the pharmaceuticals and things, or just the people's diets, is that people are coming onto the land that are not necessarily going to have a diet or a lifestyle that's free of those. And those will sort of automatically be put into the compost itself, unfortunately. And so this is and as far as composting toilets, they've allowed composting toilets in Sonoma, with the caveat that you also need to have a relationship with some service that comes and gets it. And so they may have had to put that in based on some laws within California, but it's still, the challenge with compost, like if you think of, more traditional groupings of people that are not utilizing pharmaceuticals, they're living off the land, then there's like a loop, there's a pure loop that can happen there between, human shit and soil, which works really well. But unfortunately, so many people in these days are actually carrying toxic materials around inside them. So that becomes a real interesting conundrum.
Well, in my permaculture class that I took, they were saying that human manure and it's separate. You treat that separate, and you don't use that on your food that you're going to eat. You could use that eventually. They were recommending for 6 months or a year for it to sit to really cure. And then don't use it on the food that you're going to eat. Use it in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that I am trying to understand with this. So one is, what's the difference then in a septic system where the leach field, where it's the same thing, it's going into the groundwater, it's going into the earth. There's no difference. So we can't say the human manure is affecting the groundwater or the soil quality versus that. Then I also want to understand what mycelium have been used to eat those heavy metals, eat those toxins, because they're cleaning up oil spills with mycelium. So if they can do that, then we know that it can process in our human manure and get rid of those toxins. I think that's important to understand. And then I would like to know, in those counties where a business has come to pick that up, what is necessary to found that business? What kind of property do we need in place to be able to process? Because if we could get a coalition of farmers together to say, yeah, I will pledge an acre of land, or I'll pledge 3 acres of land to be a processing facility for this, and have a business founded. It could be a cooperative that's going and picking up the human manure to process. That seems a lot more beneficial than these groups that are just going and sucking out the septic systems.
Yeah, agreed. That's a good point you make in terms of that. You're right, because things are going out in the leach field that way.
We could schedule a call also with the Compost King, the guy from Nevada that was also very interesting in Soldal.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that has the biggest compost facility in Nevada. He knows anything and everything about compost.
Yeah, let's put that on the list to connect. We only have 2 minutes, so maybe we should get to our gratitudes.
Yeah.
You're on fire today, Melissa.
I have to go to a meeting at the school, so.
All right, gratitude. Awesome.
Just grateful to be on this call again. Apologize for the time slip up on my part, but grateful to be with you.
Melissa?
I'm always honored to be with you guys. Excited about Solstice this week, and look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday with hopefully a lot more information. Just so much gratitude for your guys' continued dreaming into life.
Yeah, really grateful to be in these conversations. I think composting, I'm grateful for that conversation. I think it's a very important conversation, and it's the process of creating soil. So it really excites me. So thank you.
Can you post this anywhere, Christian, so I can watch the early part?
I started recording once you got on.
We didn't do much before. We
didn't
just
do
went
much.
over our to-do list from before.
Okay.
Minutes. If you want to check out the minutes, you can.
Okay. I'll check those out.
And I'm just
Awesome.
grateful for focus, like getting more and more clear on focusing on what we're up to. And
Great. So we'll all check out that Slack and add stuff to it this week. If you guys have information about